Conservative activist Grover Norquist jokingly mentioned the other day that if the Washington Redskins were going to change their name, why not change it to the Washington Reagans? You know, as in Chancellor, Emperor, Overlord, Saint, Holy One, Ronald Reagan, that the Republicans can't get enough of and probably beat off to. Well, he was kidding, again, tongue-in-cheek. He wasn't really being serious. But some fools at the uber-conservative paper, the Washington Times, which is a tremendous joke, they actually think that's a great idea. Quote, there was a lighthearted proposal on social media to change the team's name from the Washington Redskins to the Washington Reagans. Andrew Kaczynski, a staff writer for the news and entertainment website BuzzFeed, included a quote from Americans for Tax Reform founder Grover Norquist, who called it a great idea and fun to consider, if nothing else. This idea isn't being seriously considered, of course, but if people keep getting their knickers in a knot about the Redskins' trademarks every 10 or 15 years, why not change the team name to the Reagans? For one thing, it would be the ultimate tribute to Ronald Reagan. Many Americans and the vast majority of conservatives would applaud this decision. He was a great man, a great patriot, and a great president. If there was ever a world leader who deserved to have his name associated in a positive fashion with a sports team, it would be Reagan. Really, it would be Reagan. It wouldn't be Lincoln. That whole freeing the slaves thing, it wouldn't be the father of the country, George Washington, who considered, or didn't consider, people said to him, hey, you should be the king of America, man. And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not what this country's about. But then, yeah, the Washingtons would be strange. I don't think you can name it that. It's kind of two things in one. Two things back to back. Anyway, yeah, Ronald Reagan would not be the first name we would go for. Why would we even want to name sports teams after presidents or leaders? That's so Soviet Union-y to me, you know? The idea that, bow down to the dear leader. The dear leader is so right about everything. But the thing that's so crazy about the view of Ronald Reagan from today's Republicans is that it's totally false. Just like everything else in that right-wing bubble and with their dogmatic ideology, it's not based on the facts, it's not based on reality, and if Ronald Reagan was around today, they would dismiss him as a Looney Tunes liberal. Now, you think I'm exaggerating or I'm using hyperbole. Now, understand something. Don't get me wrong. In many respects, he actually was conservative. And in many respects, you know, he really did some very bad things for the country, and we can talk about those, but there are some things that he did that would flat out, he would be, you know, excommunicated from the Republican Party. For example, the deficit increased tremendously under him. Okay? It hit a record high under him. It was one of the top people in his administration that famously was the first person to say, deficits don't matter. He also created Medi-Cal, which is government-run healthcare, the biggest Medicaid system, state-run Medicaid system in California. He was a former union president who campaigned against the Taft-Hartley Act and other restrictions of the right for unions to organize and collectively bargain. So he was pro-union. He gave amnesty to illegal immigrants in 1986. He withdrew troops from Lebanon where we were attacked. People always famously say, well, that's what cutting and running is. And what do Republicans say now? Don't you dare cut and run. Stand there and fight. But Reagan was like, fuck that. We're out of here, man. These people are crazy. He sold weapons to Iran, the Iran-Contra scandal. We've talked about this before. He expanded abortion access as the governor of California. He supported gun control in the Brady Bill. You have to understand, he literally failed the Republican purity test. The RNC came up with a 10-question or so test a few years back, and Reagan failed it horrendously. So, the creation of the myth of Ronald Reagan is pure fiction. You know, if he was around today, they wouldn't agree with him on many things. They would view him more as, an uber liberal communist lefty. And it just goes hand in hand with this right-wing goofiness that has become mainstream in the party within the past few decades. They're perpetual fact deniers, PFDs, and they're also just 100% sentimental and authoritarian. That's what this is. This is all about authoritarianism and sentimentalism. Oh, emotionally, they need to follow their dear leader who's right about everything, and that's Reagan, so we should name a football team after him. Yes! Because football is so American and sports are so American. We love to eat pork rinds and fart on the couch. It's such a Republican thing to do. And why not see Reagan's name on the screen? Because that's the name of the team as we're watching. And then we'll totally masturbate to it. I mean, what? Did I say that out loud?